Tuesday. Coffee. Coffee today. I'm gonna have to change the title again. Oh, this room has never got brilliant lights to film in, but anyway, we are here and we are showing up. A little tired today. Oh, I had a day yesterday. My computer decided to die. Like DED did. I finished my sessions in the morning here. I went over to my husband's gym to get some work done after doing some banking errands, which are always fun. Never irritating. And then I had my email ready, I was getting some stuff done, got my email, I'd sent the test, I was about to schedule it, whole laptop goes black. And I'm like, okay, maybe I just hadn't plugged it in properly. Came back to my gym, went and plugged it in the back room, trained for half an hour, 20 minutes, went back to just check on it, still dead, still nothing. Now, as somebody that runs her entire business and clients' work on the computer, there's definite need for panic when things happen like that. But it was incredible to, I guess, witness the panic that was unfolding. But I was realizing it was due to like old conditioning. And I had to get my mental list very quickly and just be like, okay, what needs to be done? What actually has to happen today? What do I have to make sure I log into and schedule? Because again, with the nature of working with clients and ongoing content, there's usually something to do. All right, it's not always a case of just disappear for a few days. That is going to change as part of my plan for how I operate, but currently as I stand, I'm still in one of those positions where things move and things have to be checked in on and, you know, looked at all the time. Luckily, I mean, we operate the agency through Notion, which I still find absolutely phenomenal, by the way. And my clients operate through buffer and scheduling systems and things like that, in terms of me doing some of their content on that side, and then the rest of it I'm in touch with WhatsApp and other forms for my other clients. And yeah, logged onto my husband's computer when I got home, managed to bring it to the One Chai Computer Center. The guy there seemed to think he can fix it, so I'm going to pick it up this morning at 10:30 and see what happens. Otherwise it's time for a new computer. But it's quite fascinating to, kind of ride out those emotions. I was getting a little bit teary in the Apple shop, and then one of my old F45 clients, Angela, she's an absolute angel. She came over and said hi, and she came and asked a big hug and just was like, okay, so, because this is what annoys me, I think, at a lot of those shops. Obviously they have protocols of the way that they tell you to sort things, and usually at Apple, they're not very helpful in the terms of they will charge you a lot of money to change all the components, and then they also tell you need to go and take like an 8K fee for getting your data off first. Otherwise, if they replace the battery in the motherboard, it's going to wipe all the data and then you'll never see it, and you need to see what's on your device. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, all right, sure, you know, again, easy to go pay and just sort things out. And I'm like, what is actually on my computer versus what have I got stored in the cloud and on the drive? And she just said to me in the shop, she's like, look, go do your session, come back after, you can borrow one of our laptops, log into your iCloud account and just see, and give yourself a couple of days. Worst case, you buy a new laptop, keep this one as is, and then, you know, a couple of days in, if you feel like you need the data that's actually on the laptop, go. Otherwise, if you've used it and you've got everything you need on the cloud or online, then you don't need to pay for the data recovery. And I'm like, thank you. Somebody with a brain. And so I did just that. Went over, saw all my files on the iCloud, majority of them anyway, especially the ones that sit on my desktop, and especially a lot of the like screenshots that I've been taking of the behind the scenes stuff, which is one of the things I think I was really like, where's that going to be? And then of course just checking on my client files, but a lot of my client files I run through my Google Drive because they have access, I have access, so it is all on the cloud, it's all online. And it was quite phenomenal to me that in amongst all my panic, like as long as I've got a login and a computer and a Wi-Fi connection, I could go to an internet cafe and still sort out all my stuff. Granted, it's not as fun or as quick sometimes with some of the apps and things that maybe I'm using on my laptop, but other than that, like the documents, the folders, the screen doesn't really make any difference. And it was just interesting after a long day to sort of feel that panic, I guess. It was the first time I felt that. The last time I felt that was when I was running the agency, like that proper, like panic. And immediately my mind was like, oh, now it's like we've got 2 weeks till mountains, why now? And I'm like, well, of course. And it's time for a new lap, why not today? It was gonna be one day when it was gonna die, why not today, just before I go offline? And such is life. This is a big shout out to my girlfriends who just sent contacts for people for cleaning and fixing and sorting and everything. I love that my little pit crew is so resourceful, especially this friend. And it just, it again just reminds me of why I always talk about those 3 buckets of people: the mentors, your peers, and then your clients, or the people that you're teaching. And it's so important because, there are certain things you don't go to your mentors with, but you can bitch and moan about with your peers. There's certain things that you do go to your mentors with that you don't go to your peers because they don't know. And it's like this nice little triangle of being able to actually figure this out. And I'm still, it's so much more of the visualization that I've been, I guess, forming over the last little bit is it's these guardrails, and realizing what I've done with my life and how I've moved myself into different positions. Like I understood very early on that a lot of my motivation came through other people. I had to take the focus off me. I don't tend to get so motivated when it is a very, I'm not going to say self-centered, because I don't think it's self-centered to focus on yourself. But I enjoy being in service. I enjoy working for others. That was something I realized in my work before. And especially after I'd left my agency and joined Legacy Builder and have been building their team, I remember starting to play with different scheduling blocks in my day and realizing that my stuff always got left to the end and that I didn't feel like doing it. And so I had to rearrange my day because I had to come to the conclusion and realize that client work always got done. No matter what time, no matter how tired I was, no matter what else had happened during the day, the client work got done because there were deadlines. It's an outsourced deadline and expectation and thing that you're actually presenting or doing or working on. And so I used to get up, work on my things, and then work on my clients, because whenever I would get up and work on my clients first, due to the nature of the scheduling and the carousels and that type of stuff, it's easy to just go more and not kind of give yourself a cutoff point just to get it done and get ahead of the game. And that's great. But then when it comes to the detriment of what you've told yourself that you would be working on for yourself, and then when you get to that part, you're brain fried to the point where you just there's nothing to compute. Whereas the work that I do for the agency doesn't actually take as much brain power because a lot of it is a copy and paste job. It's a ghostwriting agency. I'm the designer, account management, but the content is created, and then I make a little print, make it look pink, and then I schedule it nicely. So in terms of the nature of that job, it doesn't require a mass engaged brain. It requires being on, it requires attention to detail, but it doesn't require me coming up with creative ideas. It doesn't require me to write the content. It's already written. I get to, like I said, bring the visuals to life, bring the infographics, bring the carousels, bring all of that to life. So just a different, I guess, part of the brain being used. And I remember that flow working a lot better, and same, fitting these in. This is the start of my day. Like, this is before anything else happens. I mean, like, what time is it? It's not even 7 o'clock in the morning. I came in earlier with Garth because he has his 6:30 client, I have a 7:30 client, and yesterday we had the same thing. And I ended up leaving the house 20 minutes after, a little bit rushed, and having to stay on the bus. So I opted for this morning to jump in a cab and sit with him in a cab and sit here to film this with a nice coffee, and then I can just sit and chill. I thought, I was like, oh, I can get some work done. I was like, no, don't have your laptop. But I can sit and get some stuff done on my phone as well. That's what's quite nice. I've actually moved quite a lot of my tasks can be done on my mobile as well. That was something I had to actually get out of my own mindset. There was definitely like a limiting belief in terms of what had to happen in the environments that I had to work in. And over the last 5 years, learning to fill little pockets of time, or pockets of half an hour, or, oh, sorry. Oh, let me take a sip of my coffee. 7-Eleven, finest. Being able to take pockets of time throughout the day, focus on a task, get it done, and then move on, even if that's all you can do, has been a big unlock for me as well. Yeah, I don't know why I say I don't know. Let's see where today wants to go. But yeah, that computer thing just made me laugh. And again, it brought up those Vipassana training on attachment as well. I'm like, okay, I can't be so attached to this fucking computer thing. Like, like, you know, as much as it feels like it's an extension of my life right now, like, I'm okay. I'm not going to not survive without my computer. Like, yes, it's a mild inconvenience, but I also live in one of the, you know, most ludicrous tech cities in the world. I can go buy another second-hand, I can buy a laptop. I can buy a laptop today. This is the big thing. If I can't fix it, I'm buying a new laptop. Those are my two options. Sweet, I have the capability to do both, especially right now. And it's that as well, like, I think ties into the whole, you know, well, I drew a line in the sand when I started this series. No more being broke. No more being a broke artist. It's not cute. It's not fun. It's not glamorous. It's not fun. It's not fun, you know, and I think the only people that, it's when you've never had any play money to gift people things. I think that it's very easy to keep that frame of mind of, oh, money is evil, or why do I need so much, or I don't need so much, and it's like, it's not about you. Again, it's not about you. Like, when I think about earning a lot of money and building wealth and starting to play this kind of game of Monopoly that I just, oh, I'm so excited to play. I'm so ready to play these different games. And it's happening. I'm in that morphing zone. And I know the second I jump back into Becca Pike's circle as well, it's like, that's game over. We're done. We're no longer playing any of these old games. For me, the fact that I did a year in her circle, have taken a year out of her circle, and now I'm ready to jump back in. With and without, I've seen. With, I would prefer. It's like when one of my friends, tour guide, South African older gentleman from Discovery Bay, who used to hang out and drink with back in the day. I've been rich, I've been poor, and rich is better. What is fun about it is that you get to do the slumming stuff if you would like. That was what Jebo was saying. He was describing this amazing trip he'd taken with a friend out in Vietnam or whatever, and they were going down this like river, they were, you know, camping in tents, like the whole thing turned into a little bit of a shit show. And they, after a couple of days, I think they were both starting to lose their sense of humor on the trip, and so they checked into the Four Seasons in the next town, and he was like, yeah, to have a nice hot shower and to do that, done. And then to go back out into the jungle and play and get dirty, done. But to know that you can check into a nice hotel whenever you want, that. And I think so many people, myself included, for a very long time had such a warped perspective on what money is or was. And I know a lot of the time, I know I struggled because you did. Don't mean that, love you. Policeman father, all right? He's passed away before you, if you haven't caught up on that. My tattoo on my arm is a commemoration for my father. He passed 2 years ago. But his whole official party line was that you couldn't get rich unless it was inherited or it was illegal. That was the beliefs in our family. And that was one of the honest to God reasons why I feel like my father never reached the heights of financial success that I know he could have, especially post police. Like obviously when you're in the police, you've got a set salary. There's not much more you can make. It's not like you're working in the finance sector where you've got commissions or you can earn bonuses or whatever. It's like you get that, that's it. He did that for his entire fucking career. And then he went into the private sector and he was running, I remember at one point he was running Zoom calls with like 2,000 people on them. And he'd come off one of them and he was like, it's the same. It's the same, whether it's a group of 5 men, a group of 400, which was the team that he led in the police force in Hong Kong, or 2,000 people on a Zoom. He's like, it's the same thing. My father made more money than I think he'd ever seen in his entire life in his few years post-retirement than he could have ever fathomed. And I think I was very grateful that he saw that. And genuinely, it was only due to the fact that he was decent to so many of his men, and a bunch of his men actually went into the private sector. And so once my father had retired, they pulled him through different things. And because my father wasn't just in, he was actually in investigations. So he as a Guaylo, he wasn't able to just go into security. He was able to actually go into financial investigations. He got pulled all the way through the Middle East, and I can only imagine the shit that he saw as well in the back end of some of these bigger countries and how they operated, and God knows what they were operating with. It is ludicrous. He was based out of Qatar and Kazakhstan at the end of his stint, and yeah, that was a big thing for me. I'm obviously very sad that he's never going to get to see. See, it's funny, even if as I say it, I feel like because he's here. So I feel more connected with him after his passing than ever before. And I wouldn't say we were close, but I loved my father, and I did love spending time with my father. I wish I had had a little bit more time to have a few more of these more morality and ethical questions, because I know that's a lot of what he struggled with and dealt with throughout his lifetime, and was very curious about. Being such a genuine heart in such a nasty environment just due to the nature of his work, he dealt with triads and drugs. I remember being old enough as kids, one day he'd come back and Mum we had family dinners around the table, which I see now why it was important, and I love her for that. I don't love her for having to have us go through all of our day play by play as a way to keep in touch. But anywho, I think we can all pick apart our parents to no end. But yeah, I don't know, he was, I remember one day he'd come back and there was just a different look on his face, and we were just getting old enough that he was able to kind of tell us what was going on. I think I was in high school at the time. And he'd come back from a mass suicide in an area in Hong Kong called Mong Kok, which was the area that he'd done, and it was the police had been called to the rooftop of a local building block, and there were 22 students who had decided to end their lives and leave this world, all around my younger sister's ages, maybe just a little bit older, but around the same ages as his kids. And I think it's only been dawning on me as I've gotten older, one, how young my mum was when she had us, and holy crap, what she did and the juggling and all of it was, it blows my mind. But yeah, it also makes me realize that they didn't know what was going on, and so much of the culture's stubbornness as well that keeps us like not saying things or not doing things or not having certain conversations. Anyway, I think that thread can go somewhere else, but I think I would have loved to have had more conversations with my father around that and heard his perspective and actually heard more of his stories and how he felt around some of these things, especially having 3 young girls and then a son later on, 4 kids, you know, he's seeing all this crap. And obviously Hong Kong's one of those cities where it's very separated. Like, we don't get petty crime in the same sense that you would in the UK or in the States, where you're worried about, you know, your kids going out for an evening out and you're worried that they might not come home because they're going to get raped or drugged or murdered or like that type of stuff. Whereas in Hong Kong, his 16-year-old kids are going out and getting drunk ladies and then coming home and he knows that the taxis are safe, you know, but underneath that, obviously every city still has their triads and their serious crime, but you'd have to go looking for that in Hong Kong to be in trouble with that. Like, you don't just happen upon that sort of stuff, if you know what I mean. So it's very different in terms of that kind of city. You know, our 7-Elevens have fridges outside. I remember my grandma coming to visit one time, mum's side grandma, was just like, we wouldn't be able to have that in the UK. I was like, no, because the fridges would be empty by the time you'd even started the day. I mean, people literally, they're around the shop corner, out of CCTV view and out of view from the reception. They take a drink from the fridge, they go inside, they pay for it. Like, it just reminded me as well, it's like, you can't have nice things. So I do not feel, I feel very, what's the word? I'm not jealous of the people that decide to go into like running countries and states and things. I can only imagine how much of a shit show the back end is and what you can and can't actually do in terms of making a difference because of red tape and paper and policy and all that sort of shit. Let alone, you know, when you go into entrepreneurship and you start meeting founders and things, and you can see how businesses are like duct taped together in the back end. I've mentioned that before when I was starting to build core media side of the business, and we were going to some of these companies to help them, or to at least pitch the marketing side of stuff, and people don't know. Like, nobody knows. I wouldn't say everybody's doing their best, but people don't know. Things change. The way to operate things isn't always set in stone. It's so much more malleable. I just find it very incredible how many shoulds and how much your environment does dictate a lot of what's actually going on and what you, I don't know, how you operate in the world. And it was just such a big visceral like reminder of that panic, nervous energy yesterday, just for a little bit. And it didn't even fully overtake me. There was an underlying thing, but I recognized it, I noticed it, and I was like, wow. I was operating at that edge for like 3 years building that agency, where I was just on the verge of a nervous breakdown then. Like, I felt like I'd be letting people down. Everything that was said to me was an attack on my identity. Like, I couldn't feel like I could take a day off because that would be failing. We've come so far. I think that this series is a testament to that, going through even all these little chapters that you guys can see. It was funny, I saw, not sure if you guys are going to be able to pick up on the music. I hope you can still hear me. The music's on in the gym. I'll stop just now. We're hitting 25 minutes. Yay! A nice little longer episode finally. Yeah, just operating at that, almost on the verge of a panic attack. Like, I was at that edge for like 3-4 years, you know, and even seeing what I've been doing with my husband now, dragging ourselves through these early mornings, and then us being a little bit silly sometimes with pushing the late nights and, you know, having snacks too late and going to bed and not feeling super tired, or keeping ourselves awake and then having to go through it again. Drag yourself through it, get yourself up. It's another day. Go again. Again, I've put myself in this position as a means to an end. I understand where the end point is. I understand what game I'm playing now, but it really is demoralizing and debilitating when you don't, and when you're just in it, and when you're just dragging yourself through, and there's this air of like, not that I don't care, but just this, where is it all going? And I mean, not everybody needs that, but I'm assuming if you found this channel and you're enjoying it, you're more often than not probably like me, where we don't want to be put in a box. We don't want to do one thing. We want to find projects within one thing. I think that's where I was quite excited about the agency model, because it was the first time I felt like we could be honing and mastering one skill set, but it was different enough and there was enough variety due to the nature of our clients. I mean, at one point we had clients in the health and wellness industry, we had a nutraceuticals company, we had scuba divers. That was so much fun. Me and my business partner even went and did our GUE fundamentals so that we could actually understand the difference between PADI and GUE, the way that these guys were teaching it. And as soon as we did the course, we were like, we know how to help you sell it better. Like, even that, once you understand your client's stuff. We had another company doing fluid dynamics over out in Canada. It was incredible. We got some friends of ours to do the rebrand of the new logo, and the fundamentals were always the same. It turned out to be the same. Once we'd done the marketing enough, it's the same thing. It's the brand, it's the message, it's the values, it's the who are you looking for, it's the what's your message, what do you stand for, what are you doing? And I think personal branding just takes that to the next level of you being at the epicenter of all of it. But then that's where you are the niche fits in, and you are the common denominator about whatever happens. But then this is where I feel like, in terms of, you know, getting one thing off the ground or one thing working, I think that's where you've got to understand what type of character you are. I think the more I realize now, the more I'm okay with having a few things on the go and it taking longer, instead of rushing one thing. Because as something happens to my brain when I pick one thing, I go, I'm letting all of this go. And it's like, no, you're not. But if that's how it makes you feel, then nothing's going to happen anyway, because you're going to freak out about doing one thing, and then you're not even going to let that one thing fall enough into fruition. Anchors, reps, content, output, input. Where's your signal? Where are people coming in? Where can they find you? It's a nice little circle. That's why I called it the force field, especially with solopreneurs. And this is the next bit that I'm really hoping to learn from Becca, is the scaling side of it in terms of my time, because I can see how omnipresent she's being, but I can also see there are things that she's doing daily, and then things that she's been able to outsource to her team that are also helping her with some of the stuff. But that's that time, getting your time back, and creating the systems and creating the patterns and creating the fallback for every layer of the business, that it doesn't always just fall back onto you, and that you're trained. And this type of stuff takes time. Like, it takes time. You can't just assume that the first hire is going to waltz in and fix everything. Well done if you have somebody like that. But then you also have to give your people a grace period, and also understand that the longer they stay with you, the better they become, because the more they get to know you, the more they get to work with you, the more they understand your isms in the back end that they can, bring the clients in on. And yeah, I don't know. It was just a very interesting day yesterday, and a very interesting rush of emotions that I was feeling, trying to allow to pull through, but also carry on with my day. And then also almost like intersect just a automated reaction to what was going on, and just kind of be like, why panic? I was so tired as well. And I was feeling teary. Shame. And then I found out when I got home that one of my old friends from the events industry lost her husband suddenly. She was about my age, Tears, instant tears. I felt that hard last night. And just another full cycle moment of like, what are we doing? What are we doing in this world? How long are you going to allow the Groundhog Day years to get away from you without it either pointing a direction that you know that you want, or think the hardest thing to come out of with the agency thing was to ask myself the question, is this what you want? Is this way of operating? Is this way of building? Is this business? Is this what you want? Because I was so, I'd convinced myself that the hard work, the sleepless night, like the just saying yes, the just doing more, the just fucking treading water and surviving was somehow gonna pay off. And I think you learn that lesson when you get into content again very quickly, that, you know, the consistency and just posting does not mean that you will get what you want from it. Does not mean you will get clients by just putting out content, by just putting out posts consistently. Does not equal sales. You can do it and it might equal some, but in terms of what you're trying to do, there's so many more layers underneath, and I think when we completely overlook that, I don't know, it's just, I want so much more from this life than just to be okay with being stuck in a groundhog routine. That's it. And I know things are shifting from my end. I can feel it. I am just viewing things differently. Even from May, like it started just before we went to the Dolomites last September. I connected fully to that internal calm that I'd been cultivating for the last 4 or 5 years since I left the agency and learning to connect with. It solidified just before we went to the mountains. In the mountains, I got engaged. We did the trip again. That was the year after Dad had passed. So we were back on track for doing our annual trip. Time out, that time away from screens, that time walking. It was funny, I put a little bit of pressure on myself to come up with all my brilliant business ideas and stuff, usually on these trips. And the last year I was like, you don't need to do anything. And same for this year. I don't need to solve anything. Just by being present and being with my friends and being with my husband and being out in nature, it allows the brain to solve things for you. I think this is where I know I've struggled for so long. I have to know the how. I have to know how it's all going to work out. And that's my very logical brain. And look, to be fair, I can dream very big and crazy, and I can see the through lines and the threads, and I can help create MVPs and minimum viable products, and like start walking on that line so I can see it, so I can dissect the how. But then when it comes to your own stuff, there is an element of faith and of trust where the how is actually none of your business. And if you don't allow for the unknown to come in, how are you going to get swept away? How are you going to be surprised? If you know what's happening, if everything's planned, if you've sucked all the life out of everything that you're doing, or not even all the life, but all the space for anything to breathe. There's no spontaneity, there's no freedom, there's no fun, there's no allowing life to surprise you because you've given moments of that awe or that wonder and that curiosity. Like, bring that in, bring that back, find that. And I'm so excited for this mountain trip this year. Like, to see what we've done, to see what we've accomplished, to step into it now, a married woman, to like have had my word for commitment, to have committed to my content, to have committed to this, to have really been enjoying this. And shit's gonna get real. It's gonna get real. I'm excited for what's possible. And that hasn't come with a lot of doubt and a lot of, shit. But I think you realize more and more on this that anybody that's got to a certain point, it has. Because it's only the people that get to those places have experienced certain things that have made them go, fuck that, with whatever else is going on in life. All right, I've just realized I've been talking for half an hour now, which is awesome. I've missed these longer rambling ones, but I'm going to check what the time actually is and go see if I can find my client. 2 clients this morning. I got a lovely gentleman and then my 71-year-old lady who just is in love with her animal flow, and it blows my mind that she can do her shoulder stands and that she's moving and loves the gym. Her older sister, who's 2 years older, has just been through a spinal fusion surgery like I had for the 2nd time now, and bless, she's been trying to get her sister to join her, and it's like, oh, You know, longevity, taking care of yourself. This life is not guaranteed. This life is not guaranteed. Take care of this the best you can. The rest will sort itself out when you take care of this, because if you can listen to this, if you can tune into this, the answers are there. We get so good at conditioning and ignoring and overriding this, and that we forget to ask, what do I want? What do I enjoy? What actually brings me joy? Not anybody else, me. And it was embarrassing for myself 5 years ago to realize that I didn't have values, joy. What do you want in this life? What would be you being successful in this life? I think that was, I'll leave you with this one. I think it was Naval Ravikant that said, the smartest people in this world get what they want out of life. So start asking those bigger questions and start allowing yourself to listen and trust this. There will be more information soon, and more information is only coming out about how much we don't understand the human bodies and how much things have been covered up that we know. And if you're creative, and like I said, if you were listening to this and you found this, you know. And I hope that I can be like just a little point of light along the journey, knowing that you're not alone, you know, and that we get to all not suffer together. Ideally, we all get to celebrate together. Like, this is what I keep telling all my creative friends, especially when we're all sitting still in this little in-between bit. I was like, I refuse to just jump into projects with people until we are all autonomous as well and have our own thing going that we know works for us, that we know we can take with us when we do other things. No more building and leaning on somebody else, and then, you know, building something that's going to disappear if somebody changes their mind. We're all very wild spirits, so fucking sort your own shit out, and then let's start playing bigger games together. And I really feel like end of 2026, 2027 and beyond, when I get back, I'm so excited to develop and build these sidekick bots. I was so close. Not even was. I've built them, I've developed them. I just now need to focus back and bring my attention back on it and realize that getting to that point was the start, and now it's time to start and bring them to life. Because if content is what's stopping people from living a fucking epic life, that should be the least of your worries. Happy Tuesday.